report.
We pray for the internet strength at Dr. Boutet's end. He is in his car. It is 9:43 his time in Philippines at night, way out in the open forest. Dr. Boutet, we know your story. So he's not downtown, he's in his car, and he's making this great sacrifice to bring this program here today so that we can all benefit. Let's appreciate it. And please do keep the prayer request in your hearts as you pray and as God works through him and the strength of the internet. This is a very important topic. Thank you very much. And thanks very much, Sister Veronica.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, we will do it from now. Sleep benefits part 2. Researchers have linked poor sleep to a number of ailments, from short-term memory loss and behavioral problems. Dr. Mercola speak about it. To weight gain, diabetes, even increased risk of cancer, just to mention a few. According to one of the most recent analyses, seniors who regularly sleep more than 8 hours per night had a 46% increased risk of stroke compared to those who slept between 6 and 8 hours per night. You know, as we saw the last presentation, sleeping too much or sleeping too little is not good. 4 hours or below of sleep is not good. Some people say even 6 is not, less than 6 is not good. And sleeping too much is also not good. Why? Number one, because inflammation increases as we are sleeping too much in our bodies. If inflammation increases as we pass the 9 hours, then many things will happen. And this is why strokes, heart diseases, and all other problems are coming about. So we will see more about this. The researchers don't know if the long sleep is a cause, consequence, or early warning signs of decline brain health. So we know that it affects even our brains. What are those problems that come with sleeping too much? Number one, depression. A genetic study involving adult twins found those who slept between 7 and 9 hours per night had a 27% total hereditability of depressive symptoms. Diabetes. Sleep deprivation can quickly impair your insulin sensitivity and lead to insulin resistance, a precursor of type 2 diabetes. But too much sleep can have a similar impact. One Canadian study found that those who slept more than 8 hours a night were twice as likely to develop type 2 diabetes over the next 6 years compared to those who slept between 7 and 8 hours. What about weight gain? Same thing. In the Canadian study mentioned above, those who slept 10 hours a night were 25% more likely to gain 5 kilos over the course of 6 years compared to those who slept less. What about heart problems? In one study found that sleeping for more than 8 hours at night doubled the risk of angina, memory loss, and decline of brain function. Men and women in their 60s and 70s who slept 9 hours or more each night had a more rapid decline in their cognitive function than those who slept between 6 and 8 hours. What about headaches? Yes, headaches and migraines can be triggered by excessive sleep. Premature death. A meta-analysis of 16 different studies involved nearly 1.4 million study participants found that both long and short sleepers had an increased risk of dying from any cause. Sleeping more than 8 hours was associated with a 1.3 times greater risk of all-cause mortality. Now, there's another point that we need to consider when talking. Well, let me clarify something here. Sleeping too much. Remember that I told you don't follow feelings, follow reason. And this is where Isaiah 1:18 comes into place. Very important verse. Come, let us reason. God wants us to follow reason instead of feelings. If you ask someone taking drugs if they feel good about using them, they will say yes. If you ask anybody in any sin using these things or doing those things, they will say, yeah, it feels good. It's not about feeling good, it's about doing what is right. And in terms of health, it's the same thing. If you ask someone, sometimes they said, oh, I feel hungry. Sometimes it's not hunger. Sometimes it's thirsty. It's thirst instead of hunger. So it is important to follow principle, not feelings. So in the same thing with sleep, if you ask someone, how does it feel to sleep over 9 hours? They will say, oh, it feels so good. Yes, but it's not the best to follow our feelings. Now, note question. There are times when you have to wait, measure the things and reason properly. Because you may be so tired, you didn't sleep maybe only 1 hour, and you want to sleep over a little more on one time. But that's an exception. But doing it over and over again, day after day, disobeying the law of our beings, then problems would come. So we need to talk about dailies and exceptions. Now, talk about daylight helps anchor your circadian rhythm. One of the reasons why so many people struggle with poor sleep is due to the prevalence of unnatural lighting environments. When you spend the majority of your day in a windowless office and your evening in rooms bathed in artificial light, your brain struggles to determine what time it is. Sleep dysfunction, such as insomnia, can easily result. Now, remember on the previous presentation, we talked about how the light affects our sleep, stopping the melatonin formation in the gland called pineal gland at the back of our brain, using the serotonin and all those things, tryptophan that we eat in the diet, and then the sunlight in the day and darkness at night. That's why we should turn off lights at night. So at this moment, we see also the importance of the circadian rhythm. Now, circadian rhythm, if you don't know, it's just the clock in our bodies that determines what time it is. You know that even when you are going to eat, it is 1 p.m. and it's your time for lunch. Your body will start secreting hydrochloric acid in your stomach, even though you don't even remember it's 1 p.m. And that's how accurate our clocks are. So we have to be very careful in keeping the schedules in our body. And one of those is sleeping. Because if not, that will affect the cortisol level, which is the one for the activity of the body, the energy of the body, that key that starts our engine in the morning. High cortisol right up at the moment that we wake up at 6 a.m. maybe, or 4 a.m., whatever time. But if it's going to the evening time, it should be going smaller amount, smaller amount. And you can have some problems of insomnia with when you produce a lot of cortisol in the evening hours, which will set you for being awake and not being able to go to sleep. Insomnia from high cortisol level in the evening. In terms of practical advice to help you maintain healthy master clock timing, you want to get bright light exposure during the day. Many indoor environments simply aren't intense enough to do the job well. Meaning, if you don't expose yourself to the sun during the day and you want to, cover up what you didn't do, it's hard to do with artificial light. So-called anchor light anchors your rhythm, causing it to be less fragile, so that light at night has less of an ability to shift your rhythm. What about the room for sleeping? How should be the room for houses? In building a house, it is especially important to secure thorough ventilation and plenty of sunlight. Now, this goes against cultures uh, likes or dislikes. People sometimes like to build houses under trees and things like that. I emphasize the importance that we should not block the air by heavy curtains. Some people like to plant vines on the outside of the windows, and many people live very close to other buildings or neighbors where you're blocking the air and the sun to come in the house or in your room. Well, it is very important that at night our ventilation is really, really good. I remember one of the reasons is because our breathing in the evening is lower. And the second reason is the ventilation, breathing in toxins in the night when we are sleeping. They remain longer in our bodies and they create more sickness. Let there be a current of air and abundance of light in every room in the house. Sleeping rooms should be so arranged as to have a free circulation of air day and night. No room is fit to be occupied as a sleeping room unless it can be thrown open daily to the air and sunshine. In most countries, bedrooms need to be supplied with conveniences for heating that they may be thoroughly warmed and dried in cold or wet weather. Sleeping apartments should be large and so arranged as to have a circulation of air through them day and night. This is how important it is to have a good circulation. See this next one. Those who have excluded the air from their sleeping room should commence to change their course immediately. They should let in air by degrees and increase its circulation until they can bear it winter and summer. So we have to cover better, but let the air come in. Of course, we have to measure the amount that is needed for the room that we have and for ourselves, with no danger of taking cold. The lungs, in order to be healthy, must have pure air. Recommendation for babies. Important, no? Babies require warmth, but a serious error is often committed in keeping them in overheated rooms, deprived to a great degree of fresh air. So it's important to consider that for babies. Effect of sleeping, wrong sleeping. The practice of covering the infant's face while sleeping is harmful since it prevents free respiration. The persons, either way, it could be babies, could be an adult, when we are covering the face, we will be breathing our own toxins back again to the system. And this will create more problems into our bodies, more inflammation and so on. More toxins build up. But there is an evil greater than those already named. The infant is exposed to a vitiated air caused by many breaths, some of which are very offensive and injurious to the strong lung of older people. The infant's lungs suffer and becomes diseased by inhaling the atmosphere of a room poisoned by the tobacco user's tainted breath. Now, a long time ago, we used to hear about first-hand smoking, which it means a person smoking will suffer the consequences of smoking, cancers, you name it, bladder, throat, anyway. Then later after that, we heard about the secondhand smoking, which is somebody in the family that is not smoking, but is affected by the smoke directly at the moment. So that's what we call secondhand smoking. But today, in our studies today, we find third-hand smoking. What's third-hand smoking? Third-hand smoking is the nicotine that is put out by the person smoking when he's sending the fumes. It is trapped in any porous surface in the environment. For example, wood, curtains, clothing, towels, seats. Anything that is porous will absorb the nicotine. And that nicotine, according to some studies I have watched some videos regarding this, I have read articles regarding this. Some people actually say up to 1 year. Some other people say 5 years, and I saw one that said 20 years. Now, either it is 20 years, either it is 5 years or 1 year, even if it's only 1 year after. Think about this. If someone is smoking today and the nicotine stays in the curtains, for example, or in a seat, and a child sits on it and he gets cancer 20 days later, 1 year later. So that means the question that should come is this: how many people are killed by the nicotine of this person smoking today after 1 year? Or imagine if it's 5 years. Even if it's the other study that I told you I heard, 20 years. To me, either one, even just the 1 year after, it's scary, because that means the person that is smoking has many charges in his book of heaven regarding killing people from the nicotine that he's putting out. That in itself should be a reason and a power to stop smoking, if by possible, because I know it's God's will. Many infants are poisoned beyond remedy by sleeping in beds with their tobacco using fathers. We know that secondhand smoking is bad. By inhaling the poisonous tobacco effluvia, which is thrown from the lungs and pores of the skin. See, even the skin of the person will carry the nicotine and will be placed in any porous surface and will be affecting the persons. The system of the infant is filled with poison while it acts upon them, some infants, as a slow poison and affects the brain, heart, liver, and lungs. So sleeping in these rooms is a no-no for babies, for no one. And they waste away and fade gradually upon others. It has a more direct influence, causing spasms, fits, paralysis, and sudden death. Amazing. What about sleeping on wet beds? Well, if you remember Ellen G. White's experience, you may have read it. You can see these, but if you haven't, I will share it with you. Now, I will take you directly to the page on so we can read this story. Just so you can read it yourself later. Just show you. If you go to the for the White, and you see the story in this the health reformer, January 1, 1872. There are 2 pages on that, basically the 2 sections. The first one is Words to Christian Mothers, Treatment of Infant Next, that is called Beware of the Spare Bed. And it reads like this: in our itinerary life, we have suffered much by sleeping in beds that were not daily used. Beds that are not daily exposed to the air and sunlight will gather dampness. That means humidity. And there are but very few who understand the necessity of having the sun and air come freely into their sleeping rooms, that bed and bedding may be kept perfectly dry and free from impurities. Beds that have been left unused for days and even weeks in the damp season of the year are dangerous to the health and life of those who sleep in them. When visitors are expected, the parlor stove may be for the first time set up and a fire kindled in it, and the parlor bedroom open, and this is considered sufficient preparation to make the friends comfortable. But the bed and bedding, if not carefully separated and aired, are not safe for anyone to use. I have had a very afflicting experience in sleeping in damp beds. I slept with my infant 2 months old in a north bathroom. The bed had not been used for 2 weeks. A fire was kindled in the room, and this was considered all that was necessary. Next morning, I felt that I had taken cold. My babe seemed to be in a great pain when moved. His face began to swell, and he was afflicted with erysipelas of the most aggravating form. My dear babe was a great sufferer for 4 weeks and finally died a martyr of the damn bed. So please, don't be careful, especially yourself if you're visiting. Don't sleep on wet beds. Even for my children, I tell them, be careful. Even if you go to the river, you are outside, even it's raining and you couldn't cover yourself, even if you were just working a little longer in the garden, if you get wet, change your clothes. If you remain too long, if you're hot, you are exercising and you don't feel your body is not getting cold, it's not a problem. You're actually even sweating together with the rain, maybe, or any other water coming from other sources. But if you are not active and you are not hot enough and your body becomes cold, especially your chest area, not even so much on the legs, on the arms, but it could be also, but in the chest area is quicker. If you get too cold, your immune system goes down and you are prone to any infection. So you have to be careful. Children do not honor their parents when, let's read it, Testimonies to the Church, Volume 3, page 151. We do it easy just by placing, let's see, 3D, and we go to 1, so sorry, T 151.1. Our parents. Young ladies will read novels excusing themselves from the active labor because they are in the delicate health. Their feebleness is the result of their lack of exercising the muscles God has given them. They may think they are too feeble to do housework, but will work at crochet and tatting, and preserving the delicate paleness of their hands and faces, while their care-burdened mothers toil hard to wash and iron their garments. These ladies are not Christians, for they transgress the fifth commandment. They do not honor their parents, but the mother is the one who is most to blame. She has indulged her daughters and excused them from bearing their share of household duties until work has become distasteful to them. And they love and enjoy delicate idleness. They eat and sleep and read novels and talk of the fashions while their lives are useless. I bring this because talking about sleeping, it is important to set, as I said, reason, not feelings. Because by us teaching our children to sleep over the time that is reason or what is God's, as a Christian should do, it involves pain because it is the mothers who are the ones that are going to suffer. The Bible says it. So if we are not rightly training our children into the sleeping patterns, how much sleep, how much is necessary, we are going to suffer. To the presentation. Next, what about camp meetings? People were getting sick in the camp meetings. And what was the recommendation to feel better and prevent problems? Brethren and sisters must not be sick upon the encampment. If they clothe themselves properly in the chill of morning and night, important, no? And strictly observe regularity in sleeping and in eating of simple food, taking nothing between meals, they need not be sick. So what's one of the causes of majority of the cases that people are getting sick? Because we don't follow regularity in everything that we do, especially sleeping and eating. So be careful with that. Sleeping at the right time, going to sleep at the right time, waking up at the right time. Now, as you know, sacrifices, exceptions, problems, accidents, any problems in life, you're not sleeping at the right time, but it should not be a custom. Effects on the brain. Irregular hours for eating and sleeping sap the brain forces. So let's talk about Alzheimer's. Is there anything to do with our sleep? Yes. One of the causes of problems of the brain is not sleeping properly. Now, if you remember from the last presentation, everybody thinks that when you go to sleep, nothing happens, everything is shut down, nothing else happens. No, that's not true. During the night, there's so much work in our bodies that you cannot imagine. One of them is organization, orderliness. The brain organizes every little information that you capture during the day in your five senses. Either you tasted it, you saw it, you smell it, you heard it, anything in the five senses, you touched it, anything in the five senses, your brain has to organize it, link it together with other information. So there is good correlation of memories, but it is time for organizing during the sleeping hours. There are many things repairing during the night. So we must make sure that we have all the resources and all the good environment for the body to do the work that needs to be done during the sleeping hours. So keep your brain well, that you're not going to be forgetting many things, especially, the Alzheimer's issues. Now, sleeping is not the only problem, but this one that is affecting the brains of the people, not sleeping properly. Turning night into day, it's a bad thing. But you name it, in the society of today, many people are turning night into day, and that's not good. When we brought, when science brought the electricity, thinking that it was going to be a good thing for night, then people started extending the day a little longer and a little longer and a little longer, and the practice has become what? How prevalent is the habit of turning day into night and night into day? Many youth sleep soundly in the morning when they should be up with the early singing birds. And be stirring when all nature is awake. Let youth practice regularity in the hours for going to bed and for rising. It's very important that we teach our children to follow principle. Now, definitely, if you one day go to sleep late because of a reason, it's morning time and you cannot wake up. Maybe an exception, but don't make it a rule. And it's even healthier according to science. According to science, they say that it's even better if you have just taken 1 or 2, 3 hours, from your sleeping time to wake up still at the same habit time and make a nap later during the day than to wake up later. Now, as I told you, there may be a time a day that is so tiring. You have slept even only 1 hour, maybe, and you slept over a little more because you were not sleeping the proper hours. But it's even healthier in a time when you can do it to wake up at the same time than to extend your sleep and just make a little time of a nap time during that day, especially before lunchtime, 11 o'clock. That's the best time for napping to recover from the late night. Let's see. Next. Let them purpose in their hearts that they will bring themselves under discipline and practice orderly rules. Now, I emphasize here that for our bodies, orderliness, it's important. And one of those aspects of orderliness is a sleeping time. According to the studies, if we sleep over during the weekends, even, I'm not working today, I can sleep over, that causes autoimmune diseases. So it's not healthy to follow feelings. It is healthier to follow principle. I know it's a fight. When I was learning these things when I was young, I told you my story. My father was the one who um, taught me how to sleep properly, and I didn't know anything about that until I came to learning more in the medical field. But um, when he taught me, I remember myself. I had a clock that you can twist and twist, crank and crank, and then you leave it, and then at 4 o'clock it will ring, and then you can push a button. And I will have to actually move that clock away from my bed because I cannot just leave it on the side. I cannot do it. It was hard. So I'm talking from experience. I know it is hard to wake up at a certain time. But one thing that I learned is this: you must plan your day. If you know you have no power to do it, you must plan your day. Make sure that nothing takes the power that you need for that moment to wake up if you want to be victorious and you want to have a good day planification. And so what the first thing I did is I have to move that clock away so that I can stand up from my bed, walk towards it and turn it off. That means I am fully awake. I will not turn just and sleep over again. So it's very important for our regularity. God is a God of order, and it is the duty of the youth to observe strict rules, for such practices will work for their advantage. So imagine today we talk about the young people, and I feel for them, with these tablets, iPads, cell phones, schoolwork, hours of sleep taken into gaming or many other things that are attractive to the young people. And then there are parents that have not been able to set rules for these things, the proper time to be used. And wait, when we talk about screens and brain development, when is the time to use them and when not to use them? Even for my children, setting the rules for my home. When can they see screens? What age? And I'm not going to talk about that. Tonight is not for that. But anyway, God is a God of order, and He wants us to practice good things. Our God is a God of order, and He desires that His children shall will to bring themselves into order and under His discipline. Would it not be better, therefore, that to break up this habit of turning night into day than the fresh hours of the morning into night? Very important. If the youth would form habits of regularity and order, they would improve in health, in spirit, in memory, and in disposition. Would it be that many young people, as we normally call them in our society, rebellious, would be because they are not having a good disposition because their habits of sleeping are not regular? They are not orderly. Maybe they are disorderly. How to secure then a good sleep? The influence of pure fresh air is to cause the blood to circulate healthfully through the system. It refreshes the body and tends to render it strong and healthy. That's a testimony for the Church, Volume 1, page 702. It excites the appetite and renders the digestion of food more perfect and induces sound and sweet sleep. So how to prepare for the sleep? One of those things is exercise during the day. Number 2 is breathing properly. It's very important. As we talk about breathing through the nose, not through the mouth, I can give you another presentation about that another day. And it's important to consider the regularity and all that. Children need sleep. It is a sin to let children grow up in idleness. Let them exercise their limbs and muscles, even if it wearies them. This comes from the book Christian Temperance and Bible Hygiene, CTBH. If they are not overworked, how can weariness harm them more than it harms you? There's quite a difference between weariness and exhaustion. Children need more frequent change of employment and intervals of rest than grown persons do. But even when quite young, they may begin learning to work, and they will be happy in the thought that they are making themselves useful. Now, talking about sleep on that paragraph, it says their sleep will be sweet after healthful labor, and they will be refreshed for the next day's work. So it is important to see that exercise actually useful labor. It's more important, more essential, I would say, for the children's sleep and their practices, learning behaviors. When we talk about behavior, it takes 2 weeks for a behavior to be set. So you should not stop in setting a habit before the 2 weeks. You should keep going, going, and going. When even talking about insomnia, you have to be diligent in working towards setting back the clock in the proper time. Of course, there are other things that we need to do for insomnia and that we can use also, like drinking the tea of ripe banana, which is very good for inducing sleep. And there are many other things we can do, but it is important that we do exercise and other things. One more thing here. Sleeping too much is excessive indulgence in eating, drinking, sleeping, or seeing is sin. Consistent diets and food 44.1. So we see here also that sleeping too much, it is considered also a sin. Why? Because God said so. God said it, it is. But the idea is this. When we are sleeping too much, we are destroying our body. As I said before, there's too much of inflammation building up, and many problems will come, including autoimmune diseases. Remember that autoimmune diseases come up because inflammation becomes chronic. Now, when we talk about inflammation, if inflammation is used properly by the body, it is to heal any disease, any problems that we have, cuts, injuries, and everything. Inflammation will bring about all the resources to heal the area that is damaged. But when it is chronic, that it doesn't resolve the issue, it's just like this example. You cut and your body creates that crust, that scar. Now, let's say that you open up that scar and you break it before it is already closed. Then you will bleed, right? All right. Let's say that you do it over and over again, every day, every day, every day. Your skin will start getting thicker and thicker and thicker, trying to close that area. And it may even become cancerous if it is not allowed to heal in the proper way. So the point is, if we don't allow the body to heal properly, chronic inflammation will lead into many problems. Just like, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus erythematosus, asthma, and many other things could happen if the sleeping is too much. So basically, sleeping too much is almost as suicide, killing yourself, destroying your body by the lack of knowledge. It's by lack of knowledge. If we would have been taught these things before, if we would understand the physiology of the body the way that we understand with the sleeping, then we will do things differently, right? Well, that's the purpose of this presentation. We need to see things in a proper way and be more towards the reason than the feelings. So this is for today, my presentation on sleep. And we give now time for questions and answers because it is very important to do so. Then what is the screen? Stop it here. All right. Then the video is active on mute. Okay. Questions?
There are a few questions in the chat. If you would like to ask the question verbally, you can raise your hand, or if not, I'll go ahead and read it. And Dr. Boutet will respond. Okay, question from Hyacinth. Sister Hyacinth, would you like to ask the question?
Okay, that's all right. Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. It was very informative. My question is, when you seek to put light in your home, which is the better light regarding this whole connection with sleeping? Is it the fluorescent or the LED light?
All right. According to some of the studies that I have found, that I have seen, they say it's better to use the color light red. It's not really important the type fluorescent or LED, but more the color, because the coloring is the one that affects the retina signal, nerve signal to the brain, that will inhibit the production of melatonin at night in the darkness. During the day, sorry, it is the blue light sapphire color, basically the sapphire stone color, which is 460 nanometers of wavelength. If we talk about calculating the distance wave, between peaks of the light, it is basically 460 nanometers of wavelength between one peak to the other one. And that is the one that produces the stimulation of the formation of serotonin in the pineal gland. If you have eaten enough tryptophan in your diet, but the red color does not affect the melatonin inhibition, because when you have lights on at night, if it is white light just like that, it will have all the colors and everything. It will inhibit the formation of melatonin during the night. So it's important to turn off all lights. Actually, there is a quote in the Spirit Prophecy that tells us 9 past 30, all lights should be off. So my recommendation is this, my personal recommendation. The science says red color, very dim, not so intense. So that's the best thing to do, according to the latest studies. I don't know if there is anything different. I'm not all knowledgeable in everything. So we have to study. You learn from everyone and you have to study yourself. But this is what I have found. I recently watched actually a presentation on that, and this is what I perceive. I hope that helps you with the question.
Okay, thank you so much. So just to clarify, the red light is best when you are in bed or during near to bedtime, and the blue light during the day.
That's right. That's right. Actually, there is a machine that you can buy online, especially for the northern countries, when there is no light from the daytime and you want to prevent depression or treat depression. It's called blue light. And it is just giving you the time, 20 minutes a day, twice a day, depending on the need. You can vary that depending on the need of the person, but that will help the person to have a better sleep.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Boutet, piggying back on that, where I am, the period has started with extensive daylight. It disturbs me. What color should I? Right. It disturbs me. My body knows when it's dark out there, even though I have my dark,
that's right,
curtains there. My body does not go to sleep unless it's dark, and it's really, really stressful because I'm way up north.
Yes, as everything, we should not follow feelings, follow principle. If I tell you my desires, my likes, I like cold weather. I would like to be there in the snow and all those things, you know what I mean? but in reality, when I was in the US 2012 and I was thinking about my family, my children, my wife, thinking about the end time, I said to the Lord, I don't know where you want me to be going, but please give me some tropical country to do my mission work. That was my prayer. Because if we think
Okay.
about all that, even the time zones and everything, it's just much better to be in a tropical country.
I now know
And
how to
yes,
order my prayer. I'll be
that's
praying
right.
that prayer too.
In the meantime, you are there in the northern areas, you really have to cover your eyes, because when it is daytime and you go to sleep, 9,
Ugh,
8:30 p.m. and it's already still
looks like four
daytime.
o'clock. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Sister Hyacinth, for that question. I benefited a lot from the answer too. Okay, we'll go to
Mhm.
Sister Veronica and then we will go to Dr. Magdalena's question. So, Sister Veronica, your hand is raised. You can go ahead. Open your mic and ask the question.
Okay. I have had my hand raised for so long. I am hoping to even
Sorry.
remember it. I don't even know if you could tell when it was raised. Um,
Mm.
so it was back when you mentioned about resting and how it clears your mind. And um, I was going to share that when when I have a lot to do or a lot of stress,
Mm.
and I have a lot to figure out.
Mm.
Sometimes I I'm thinking about it, when you're stressed, you're thinking about it. I go to bed, and I until you said what you said, unless I misheard,
Mm.
until you said what I said, I just thought it was me being tired. But
Mm.
I would go to bed even when I had difficult things to understand and to memorize. I would go to bed and say, okay, I felt like in my brain, in my mind, I said, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to think about this while I'm in the bed resting. I'm going to process this because I knew it had happened to me so many times before. I said, and I'll have it figured out by the morning. I don't know
Mm.
how. But when you said your brain, when you go to sleep,
Organizes.
organizes things. And I
Mhm.
really think that, because I mean, when you sleep, you sleep. Your
Mm.
body may be working. I don't even know if, well, apparently your brain is working.
That's it.
And so, it was nice to hear that because
Amen. That's right.
I thought, I, again, I've been doing this since I was in college. I thought I had some kind of power. I was like, no, I go to sleep.
God gave
I
you that
learn it
power.
in my sleep. I wake up. When I wake up to go to study it or to go
Mm.
to do it, I have more logical thinking, I'll say, to
That's
get it
right.
done. Now
That's right.
since my hand was raised so long, I have some other questions. And
Mm-hmm.
that is, um, when you say, okay, the next question, this is in order. The next question, I wanted you to repeat what you said about, you said, if you have to sleep again, the best time to sleep again is at 11 o'clock. I heard you say something
Yes,
like
I
that.
was
Can you
talking.
repeat that, please?
Yes, I was talking about recovering from a night that you couldn't sleep. Example, I was in the institute where I used to be in Pines. This is what happened sometimes to me there in 2010. They called me at 11 o'clock. There's a patient with a heart attack. So I turn the light, the car, they go to the center. I face the issue. It is 1 a.m. and I cannot go to sleep. Okay, I have trouble going to sleep. Let's say it's 2 o'clock. I'm still not able to go to sleep. Okay, let's say I go to sleep 2:30. That's a long time from 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. at night to 2:30 a.m. in the morning. Then I finally go to sleep a little bit, and then I have to wake up at 4 to get ready for the next day work. All right, the best thing to do is have a nap at 11 a.m. that morning, because you're not going to be affecting your lunchtime digestion and all that. If you have a nap during the afternoon, you will be affecting the circadian rhythm of your body for what time is bedtime again. So it's actually better to nap at 11 a.m. like maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that's fine, whatever you decide. And then have a full afternoon activity and then go to sleep early. Set your time and go even a little before that time so you can go and get your night rest to recover also.
So I have two comments with that. If you
Okay.
are able to, I hardly ever have a problem going to sleep.
Okay, good.
I'm one of the ones that need to sleep more. But if I don't have a problem going to sleep at the appointed time, I can sleep more in the day if I need to catch up, quote unquote, catch up, even though you kind of
Yes,
never
that's
really.
right.
Okay, so okay, and then I think people in, is it Spain or Italy? Anyway, I could be saying it wrong, but I know for them, I learned at one point that they have either 2.5 or 2 hours or 3 hours. They have siestas. I'm not saying that we
Oh,
should do it because they eat and go to sleep, which is what we shouldn't do. But I just thought about
yes.
that nap in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And then
Go ahead, sorry.
you mentioned red light at night, blue light in the morning. But what I didn't understand is I thought we needed to protect our eyes from blue light. My eyeglasses have blue light filter. And this blue light is on the devices like the iPad, the cell phone, the TV, these screens and digital devices. What is this? People who have the iWatches or the Galaxy watches, unless there's two kinds of blue light, I thought the blue light we need to minimize because it can disrupt your sleep pattern. But I heard you say when the sister asked which one in the day, which one in the night, you said blue in the day. And then you said red in the night. My question, I know I'm asking kind of two questions now. My question about the red one was, is it really red light when it comes out? Is it red? Because I've heard of that before, that red light is better for the nighttime. But in my mind, I'm like, if you're not supposed to be up, then turn the light off. But I guess you mean in the evening hours, as it's time to go to bed, if you need the light on, maybe from, I don't know, from 4 hours before you're supposed to go to sleep, maybe from that time on, if you need to be up with red light bulbs on. I was trying to figure out if it's really red or.
Yeah, I mean, I am not the all knowledgeable in everything, but I will tell you what I have found. Yes, it should be a dim light in the evenings when you are going, it's nighttime, you're sleeping, and let's say you want to go to the bathroom. You should use a dim light. You can turn it on, then it can guide you through it, and then come back and go to sleep. That's the best thing to do. If you want to be even safer in terms of light sensitivities and reaction to the brain, it should be a red color light. During the day, it should be blue for the brain to produce more serotonin, which is the happy hormone in the pineal gland. If you have been eating enough tryptophan from your diet, your body will make using the 460 nanometers of wavelength. If you consider the blue is not only one wave, it's many, many waves. If I remember right, I don't remember right, I'm sure. But if I remember right, it's something about 430 nanometers of wavelength up to 490 nanometers of wavelength. That's blue, not the green or yellow. No, that's blue. All those are blue. So 431 is another blue. 433 is another blue. 460 is another blue, which is sapphire, stone color. 470 is another blue. It's a different kinds of blue. Many, many blues. But the idea is not all the blues are the ones that are going to produce the right reaction in the brain to stimulate the pineal gland to produce the happy hormone serotonin, and therefore melatonin, because melatonin is produced from serotonin. In the night, if we have been exposed to sunlight during the day, but in the darkness during the night, that's when it's produced. But it depends on the activity during the day. That's why it's so important to do it right. So I hope that answers better the question.
I'll have to do some more research. And to answer the question Sister Dawn asked, I tend to wear an eye mask as an adult. I wear an eye mask when it's time for me to go to sleep, so that the light doesn't bother me at
good.
all.
Oh, regarding the phones and the screens, yeah, the blue in the phones, we have to consider some other things. The light, just think about it. God created the sky, right? The sky actually is sapphire color. It's that blue that we need to see. God created it for something. Even the Bible tells us, the firmament tells the glory of God. But the blue that is on the machines, the devices, it's a synthetic light, and then it is directly on the eyes. It's coming directly on the eyes. So it's a little more difficult for the eyes to see when it is so close. So we have to consider the absence of other colors, number one, and number two, the presence of the radiation and all those things. So it's not the same as the light that comes from the sun during the day. So the exposure of the artificial light, that's why we call it the artificial lights or the natural light. Natural light is the one coming from the sun. It's not the same. It doesn't work the same way. We use the blue light machines, which is artificial light, and it helps some into the persons with mood problems and so on. It does help, but it's not the same thing as using the natural light that God created. Definitely will never be.
Okay, thank you very much. We're very close to the end of the Q&A because we do have Pastor Stevens, who is one of the directors of the East Kenya Union Conference. He is still on, and also director from the division. They will be speaking immediately after this Q&A. Well, we have some hands raised. We will take their quick questions and very quick answers. Sorry, Dr. Boutet, because of
Don't
time.
worry.
I
Don't
do
worry.
think, Sister Linda, I think your question was answered because you dropped it in the chat. So we will have Sister,
No,
unless you want to add something.
Yes, thank you. It was partially answered. I just want to know, I'm on the on Zoom at night for different programs, wearing the that blue light from your computers and things. I wear those when I'm on my cell phone or on the laptop, and I want to know if that would block out the damaging blue lights that shut down your melatonin. Thank you.
Can you repeat the
Okay.
question for me again?
When I'm at night, I'm on different Zoom programs, either my cell phone or my laptop, and I wear glasses. They're called blue light blocking glasses. I have them in my prescription glasses, and I have a pair that's not prescription. Is that worth it? And is that beneficial? Can that help, so I don't shut down my melatonin?
Yes, I mean, they help. They do help in the process, especially when you have them close. The only thing that melatonin also, it's affected by your brain function. So there may be some, if you're not going really to sleep, you may be with the eyes covered, but you are not sleeping really in the brain. You know what I mean? The brain is not close to the receiving information processing. So that way it will affect a little bit, but it's better, it's more important, the light. So yeah, it will help.
Okay, thank you. I'm driving, so I'm going to lose this
Oh,
connection. Thank you very much.
Praise the Lord.
thank you, Sister Linda, for your question. Sister Nasha, your hand is raised, and then we'll have Dr. Magdalena's question. And that's the end for the Q&A. Go ahead, Sister Nasha. Okay. All right, Dr. Magdalena, would you like to ask your question instead? I know you posted it.
Don.
Oh, okay, so you're here. Okay, go
Yes, I
ahead,
am
my
here.
dear.
Tell Shana just song and talk to she. Yes, I know the last time we talked about the sleep and sleep, but mine is still the same stating that I know during study time, during school time, secondary school time, and then studying, my body is programmed that at 1, 2, I am up. And I heard he said that, okay, the best time for recovery is 11 of recovery of sleep. But you're working. Well, for me now, I'm not working, but when I'm thinking about others, because even if you might tell somebody, okay, yeah, you need to do that. But you're working, how can you recover that time?
Yes, it is harder if you are going to recover if you're working. So you have to do the best you can, of course, up to the moment that you can. You have to remember also that when we are aging, we produce less melatonin than children. So we have to be a little more careful, I say. This is the way I say it. We have to be a little more careful with our time of sleep and also the environment to sleep. Many times, young people are not respectful or concerned about older people's sleep time and patterns and environment. So we have to be careful on that. You have to ask the young people around you to be a little more careful when you are sleeping, that they will not make noises and bring about more problems for you to sleep. And that would be probably one of the best things to do, because you cannot change your work environment unless you do a really drastic, change on that. But you have to pray about that and think over, like changing your kind of work, or maybe, or something like that.
And the next thing you said when I talked to you the last time, that I have insomnia because I go to bed at 8, wake up exactly at 12, 1 o'clock. Don't go back to sleep till 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, how can I correct that? Because like I cannot. I try to go to bed at 9, 9:30. I try. But if I am sitting in the chair, I drop to sleep. If I'm reading, I drop to sleep. By 8 o'clock, my body says, hey, it is nothing. 8 o'clock, I am tired and I am sleepy. Even though I try to force myself beyond 8. And when I do that, let's say, for example, I go to bed later than 8. I wake up next morning with a headache.
Yes. If you contact me, I will probably send you my protocol for insomnia. And one of those things that is recommended there is the use of plants for calming your body in the evening, like chamomile. And the other one is valerian. And the other thing is banana, ripe banana skin, ripe banana skin. You boil it few minutes and then let it cool down. You drink it in the evening. That helps people to induce the sleep. They sleep better that way. Did I tell you that last time? If not, this is one of those things that you can use. I have been using it lately with one case of patient, and it's great. It's working good. They can sleep great. So just contact me if you can, so we can get a little more details about you, the plan and all that, and anyone that would like to have this kind of information. I don't think you have adrenal insufficiency. I don't think so. Although I cannot say unless I have a laboratory to see the cortisol levels of every hour. Well, not at every hour, but 6 a.m., 12 midday, 6 p.m., 12 midnight. If I can see those four numbers, normally saliva studies on cortisol can do that, but I don't know if you can get that test done and then we can see the results. But if it's needed, if it's really necessary, we can do it. For now, don't worry about that. Let's just give you the protocol for, and then start with that and then see what happens after a few days, few weeks.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Boutet. And Sister Nasha, I
You're
will
welcome.
connect you with Dr. Boutet so that he could work with you. Okay. Dr. Boutet, you look very tired and sleepy. It's almost 11 o'clock your end. And,
That's right.
and it's kind of ironic that you're talking about sleep on to go
And
to
being so
sleep.
sleepy.
So funny.
Yeah,
So
that's
can
the
I ask
sacrifice of
my
today.
question?
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Magdalene. You're the last person.
I just wanted to hear your opinion about divided sleep the same night. Like you sleep for 4 hours or 3 hours, you're awake, just awake, and then you go back to sleep. You sleep for another 3 or 4 hours. What
Yes.
do you think about that?
You know, many people advise that you can just turn on lights, go to work, and then you keep trying, and then when you get tired, you go back to sleep. You know, I don't think that works really, because for all the studies that I have found, as soon as you turn on lights, especially the big lights, your melatonin process stops. You may go to sleep back because you're tired, but the melatonin is not formed, especially if you pass the cycle time, because this is the point. Melatonin is going to be formed if you're away from the sun. Now remember, sun goes out of your view because of the gradual going away, turning the earth around the sun. But the sun doesn't stop. The earth doesn't stop turning. So it is going to come back, wanted or not. It's just coming back. So the point is, as soon as the light is coming on again, the body brain function clock stops producing melatonin gradually also. So it goes up to 2 o'clock approximately. That's what we call the peak time production of melatonin. And then starts coming down again. Well, let's say that you go to sleep and you wake up at 12 midnight and you finally fall asleep around 3 a.m. again, you have lost the peak time for production of melatonin. So how much do you produce? Very little compared to other nights that you were sleeping better. So I don't think that practice of go into work and then do many things and then go back to sleep again, it's really helpful. I don't think so. It's better to have a good night rest all the way through and than
Actually,
to be waking up.
Actually, Doc, I was thinking that many people experience that not because they want to do it, but it happens. Like they
Yes,
go to sleep maybe because they subconsciously want to wake up a certain time, or
that's
they
right.
so anxious for the following day, or I don't
That's
know,
right.
whatever reason it
That's right.
happens. So it's not to say they
That's right.
plan it, but it
Mm-hmm.
happens. So how do you
Yes.
help them with that?
Yeah. The best thing to do is uh, keep the eyes closed and don't turn lights on, and pray, of course, and then the 479. What I use myself when I was in the US, taking care of patients in the night, especially, or even here when I have activities, it's using the 479, the 479 breathing technique. I don't know if you have heard me saying the 479, but it's like this: you breathe in through the nose during 4 seconds, so that's for 479. You hold it 7 seconds, you count one, mm, you hold it 7 seconds, and then you blow it out through the mouth 9 seconds. Nine seconds. Of course, I'm not doing it completely because I'm talking. I cannot do it properly. But anyway, you do 4 seconds inhalation in, lasting 4 seconds, then holding it 7, and then blowing out through the mouth, pursing the lips 9 seconds. If you do it that way, you repeat it and repeat it, or you fall asleep. It's very good for inducing sleep, decrease anxiety, stress, and so on. It's helpful even to control blood pressure. I use it for blood pressure emergency protocol.
Wow.
May I ask
Thank you
another
so
question?
much.
Quick, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Yes,
1 minute,
I
thank
have
you.
the same problem, the same issue, but the lady was justifying. But when I do the breathing, I thought the breathing was supposed to be from your nose, at your nose instead of your mouth. So is it the mouth that I have to breathe out to calm, to
Yeah,
balance
the idea
the
is this.
gases
The
in the
idea is
body?
this. The nose was made to filter, humidify, and warm the earth before it reaches the lungs. So to inhale should be through the nose. Now, when you exhale out, the air comes with air from your lungs, so it's not a problem about reaching the lung with lack of water. So it's not a problem breathing out through the mouth, pursing your lips, because the air is not going to the lungs. The idea is going in, it should always be through the nose. But going out, it could be through the nose, it could be through the mouth. No problem about exhaling through the mouth.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Nice to hear your voice, Sister Evelyn.
Same here. A little late, but I got there. Thanks.
Okay, God bless you richly.
Thank you, Doc, for addressing this.
You're welcome. Most welcome.
Thank you so much. And you know what? Lots of the people who spoke, a few of them, are medical persons too. So you know how the ship is crazy. Disrupts the body. All right. So when will you be back to with part 3? Because you did mention that you could talk about other things. I'm trying to book
Yes.
you now.
Yes, we will book out for part 3 maybe. Because we
Okay,
will
look up
finish.
for part 3. Okay, we'll talk. Yes, and just so that
Definitely.
you guys know, Dr. Boutet is so rich with beautiful information, and he's so selfless. He gives of himself. Please support his ministry. Dr. Boutet, you can put your information in the chat to persons who would like to support your
Yes.
ministry. They can do so.